Shadows behind the stars. Humanity's fascination with space stretches back to our earliest stargazers, people who scanned the sky searching for patterns that might explain life on Earth. Over the centuries, we've developed tools to enhance our vision and rockets, to propel us beyond our blue planet fueling dreams of cosmic conquest. In modern times, organizations like the National Aeronautics and Space Administration (NASA) have embodied the public's hope for open exploration, presenting themselves as ambassadors of scientific truth and discovery. Yet beneath that outward facade of transparency, a swirl of rumors persists, painting NASA in an entirely different light. According to certain theories, the very journey we celebrate our quest to explore new worlds is entwined with cloaked operations, hidden extraterrestrial treaties, and undisclosed bases on other planets. These rumors have gained traction partly due to the storied history of NASA's collaborations with other government agencies. When the Cold War was at its zenith, NASA publicly engaged in the space race, striving to outdo the Soviet Union in feats like launching satellites, sending the first humans into orbit, and eventually landing on the moon. But conspiracy theorists argue that behind these public achievements lay a far more clandestine mission. They believe NASA's real achievements were overshadowed by black projects, secret military or intelligence efforts, often funded by black budgets not listed in official government records. While NASA has released abundant data and many images from its various missions, suspicious minds point out that the organization habitually redacts certain information. They ask, if there is nothing to hide, why does NASA keep so many files under lock and key? Although NASA attributes these redactions to national security or scientific caution, the conspiracy community remains unconvinced. This backdrop of suspicion has only intensified over time, especially as whistleblowers or alleged insiders step forward some fantastical claims. Some say NASA is in possession of alien technology far beyond public comprehension. Others allege advanced spacecraft exist capable of traveling among planets with ease, far outstripping what standard rocket science can manage. In these narratives, everything from energy sources to propulsion breakthroughs is secretly tested at remote desert facilities. Meanwhile, the public is fed a diet of rocket launches and robotic rovers to maintain an illusion of incremental progress. At the heart of these stories lies a desire to make sense of the unknown. Space, by definition, symbolizes the final frontier ripe with possibilities for contact with other life forms. The idea that official agencies might be deliberately hiding truths about extraterrestrial life resonates with our innate suspicion of centralized authority. For some, it is not enough to marvel at pictures from telescopes or rovers. They crave to see what might exist just out of reach, half hidden by cosmic dust and official denial. Perhaps this speaks to a more universal human trait: we doubt what we cannot confirm for ourselves, and we yearn for revelations that might reframe our entire understanding of reality. Into this environment step the theories explored. In this part, theories suggesting that what we see is only the surface and a far darker tapestry is woven behind NASA's official achievements. One of the earliest and most enduring rumors pointing to NASA's hidden side is the story of Solar Warden. This alleged secret space program burst into the spotlight in 2002 when a British hacker named Gary McKinnon broke into computers belonging to NASA and the U.S. Department of Defense. McKinnon, described by friends and family as a modest IT expert, enthralled by the possibility of UFOs claimed to have found data indicating a clandestine program tasked with patrolling Earth's orbit, preventing alien incursions. He said the files contained references to something called Solar Warden, which included a fleet of 48 advanced vessels. Supposedly, these craft were designed for deep space missions and armed to repel hostile extraterrestrials. For some, McKinnon's claims were tantamount to a smoking gun that NASA, in conjunction with military forces, had an off-world presence. These notions swiftly galvanized the conspiracy community, which seized on his revelations as confirmation of what they had long suspected, that NASA's public missions were essentially a distraction. Officially, NASA denied any knowledge of Solar Warden, and the U.S. government worked doggedly to extradite McKinnon, accusing him of hacking national security systems. Skeptics argued that McKinnon's story was fueled by a mix of curiosity and misguided interpretations of mundane data. Nonetheless, the saga captured the public's imagination, and it remains a cornerstone of conspiracy theories regarding NASA's covert side. Digging deeper, proponents say Solar Warden began back in the mid-20th century. They claim that after supposed treaties with extraterrestrial beings permitted limited human abductions in exchange for advanced technology, the U.S. government realized the aliens were snatching more people than agreed. In response, they created Solar Warden as a space border patrol. This narrative ties in with rumors that certain alien species provided instructions, possibly through telepathy, on how to build these impressive craft. Whispers even emerge about Nazi collaboration with remnants of Germany's occult-focused scientific community, merging with alien expertise after World War II. None of this has been definitively proven, but the story's longevity underscores its allure. Although NASA has never publicly acknowledged Solar Warden, many say that the official stance of ignorance is proof of a cover-up. If nothing else, the story reveals how enthralling the notion of a cosmic defense fleet can be, especially for those uneasy about how NASA budgets are truly allocated. The program's alleged name, Solar Warden, sounds like something out of a science fiction novel, further blurring the line between reality and imagination. Indeed, the drama of a secret fleet warding off interstellar threats resonates with our sense that space may hold dangers we can only begin to fathom. At its core, the Solar Warden lore highlights the tension that underpins many NASA conspiracies. The agency's stated mission is one of exploration, while these rumors depict it as militarized, secretive, and prepared for cosmic warfare. This dichotomy gives the story a potent hook, ensuring it endures, despite repeated official denials. Whether Solar Warden is a grand hoax, partial truth, or something else entirely, its existence in popular discourse continues to cast NASA's public image into sharp relief, urging us to question what lies behind the agency's PR campaigns and sanitized mission briefings. Alongside claims of secret space fleets, conspiracy theories delve into the psychological toll astronauts face, sometimes referring to what's called astronaut madness procedures. Space travel is dangerous in countless ways. Beyond the physical perils, vacuum exposure, extreme temperature, shifts cosmic radiation, astronauts must cope with confined quarters, isolation, and immense psychological stress. The fear of a mental breakdown in orbit is not baseless. If someone on the crew snaps their panic, could imperil everyone aboard. This has led to rumors that NASA has protocols that remain largely unpublicized, protocols for restraining or sedating an out-of-control astronaut. This concept rests on documented NASA procedures for medical emergencies, which do mention how to handle various mental health scenarios. Yet conspiracy theorists take it further, suggesting NASA systematically hushes up the extent of astronaut psychological screening and keeps a specialized crisis kit for sedation. Some accounts imply that in a worst-case scenario, the rest of the crew must forcibly tape down a rampaging astronaut before administering a powerful sedative. Such protocols would be controversial if made public because they directly challenge the heroic, cool-headed image NASA projects of its astronauts. NASA has acknowledged some emergency plans, though not to the dire extent that conspiracists describe. Officially, NASA's stance is that while space travel can stress the human psyche, the rigorous selection and training process drastically reduces the likelihood of severe mental breakdown. As far as official records show, there has never been an incident in space requiring the sedation and physical restraint of an astronaut. Still, NASA remains circumspect, unwilling to discuss hypotheticals in detail. This reluctance ironically fuels additional conspiracy chatter. Why so cagey if the threat is so remote, some ask. Beyond the immediate drama, these rumored procedures tap into a broader question. Are humans psychologically ready for space's extremes? If we aim for Mars, or even more distant outposts, astronauts will face isolation, magnitudes greater than anything encountered so far. A 6-month or longer journey in a small capsule followed by living on a hostile planet with limited escape routes pushes human resilience to its limits. Should an astronaut crack under pressure, who's there to help critics of the more sensational versions of these theories remind us that NASA's track record includes decades of space flights without a catastrophic mental meltdown. They point to the agency's robust psychological support, counseling communication with loved ones, and carefully selected personalities. Yet for conspiracy theorists, the NASA disclaimers only raise suspicions that the agency is simply adept at concealment. In many ways, astronaut madness serves as a metaphor for deeper anxieties. Space is the ultimate unknown, and as we push boundaries, we realize that the human mind is just as critical a factor as hardware reliability. The notion that NASA might have secret sedation plans underscores the theme that the agency's public face might differ starkly from its hidden contingencies. By extension, it reaffirms the conspiratorial belief that NASA's squeaky clean brand is carefully curated to maintain unflagging public support, even if behind the scenes they brace for scenarios they'd rather not publicly acknowledge. No discussion of NASA conspiracies would be complete without addressing moon landing controversies. The idea that, although we landed on the moon, certain aspects of the mission were faked or heavily edited to mask the real discoveries there. While some argue that the entire Apollo 11 broadcast was staged on a Hollywood-like set, a more nuanced version holds that NASA genuinely landed on the moon but encountered alien beings hostile to human intrusion. This perspective suggests that the reason the Apollo program ceased crewed missions after Apollo 17 was not merely funding but an alien warning to stay away. The roots of this theory trace back to sightings of odd anomalies in NASA's lunar photographs. Various individuals claim to see artificial structures, rectangular or domed shapes that do not align with typical lunar geology. NASA, for its part, has systematically dismissed these sightings as artifacts of image processing, lens flares, or simple pareidolia, the human tendency to perceive recognizable shapes where none exist. However, those convinced of the theory interpret NASA's denials as deliberate obfuscation. They point to the abrupt end of the Apollo program despite the fanfare over the moon landing, asking, why win the race only to abandon the finish line? A popular subplot asserts that certain Apollo missions, possibly including Apollo 17, discovered alien craft already stationed on the lunar surface. Rumor holds that one or more astronauts had direct encounters with these beings, sometimes described as advanced, sometimes as menacing. The suggestion is that NASA's official footage was heavily edited or replaced, blending real lunar landings with staged recordings to hide unsettling truths. Proponents highlight that official transcripts from mission control occasionally have unexplained gaps or are heavily censored. Counter-arguments revolve around NASA's claimed resource limitations and shifting public interest, leading the government to pivot to other space priorities. Skeptics also remind us that no credible whistleblower has provided undeniable proof of encountering aliens on the moon. Even so, the moon aliens narrative persists, propelled by the intrigue of lunar anomalies and NASA's reticence to release raw footage in unredacted form. Some conspiracists add that the recovered alien technology has since been back-engineered, accelerating covert projects on Earth. At the same time, we are shown a facade of normal progress such as the Space Shuttle and International Space Station programs. An adjacent theory contends that NASA filmed certain scenes on Earth to bolster the public broadcast. The idea is that real footage was too horrifying or too revealing. Perhaps they say the astronauts' genuine experiences involved bizarre phenomena or hints of advanced installations on the lunar surface. If NASA's priority was to maintain an image of calm, controlled success, then splicing in staged footage might be the simplest route. This leaves open the question: if we truly uncovered evidence of an alien presence on the moon, might NASA and other entities fear that disclosing it would radically destabilize global society? Or do these stories simply reflect our deep-seated wish for cosmic drama? Regardless, the moon conspiracy underscores a key theme: NASA might know far more than it's revealing, especially about our nearest celestial neighbor. It's a theory that refuses to die because it taps into primal questions. Are we alone? Did we trespass on a realm never meant for human footsteps? NASA says no, but the speculation continues, fueled by every ambiguous photo and fleetingly strange radio transmission from those bygone Apollo missions. From the moon, conspiratorial thinking leaps outward to the gas giants Jupiter and Saturn. One of the wildest NASA conspiracies floating around is the Lucifer Project, which claims that NASA, or an affiliated group within NASA, has aspired to ignite either Jupiter or Saturn into a second sun. Proponents of this theory maintain that NASA's strategy was to crash nuclear-powered probes such as Galileo or Cassini into these planets' atmospheres in hopes of triggering a fusion reaction. The name Lucifer Project alludes to bringing light a second star into our solar system. Believers point to events like Galileo's 2003 demise when it plunged into Jupiter as potential attempts to spark a chain reaction. NASA explained that this controlled crash was meant to avoid contaminating Europa, a moon that could harbor life. But conspiracy advocates suggest a hidden motive: the probe's nuclear power source might have been used as a catalyst to ignite Jupiter. When no visible transformation occurred, they claim NASA shifted focus to Saturn, culminating in the Cassini probe's 2017 plunge. Cassini too carried radioactive material as part of its power system. Officially, NASA repeated the contamination prevention argument. According to Lucifer theorists, however, Saturn's environment might be more conducive to ignition. Mainstream science firmly rejects this premise. Even if a nuclear device were detonated inside Jupiter or Saturn, the required mass to initiate fusion akin to a star is orders of magnitude greater than what a spacecraft could carry. Stars form under colossal gravitational pressures and enormous masses. Jupiter, while massive, is still far too small to spontaneously turn on as a star. Critics add that if NASA genuinely tried such a stunt, the global scientific community would detect anomalies. Observatories worldwide track these missions meticulously, and any unnatural planetary ignition would be instantly noticed. Yet the Lucifer Project endures partly because it captures the imagination. The possibility of a second sun has been a trope in science fiction, from Arthur C. Clarke's 2010 Odyssey 2 to various cinematic adaptations. Merging that concept with real NASA missions bestows the theory with an aura of plausibility. Additionally, the notion that NASA might be playing God, tampering with entire worlds, evokes concerns about scientific hubris. Could we truly trust a government-backed agency not to undertake experiments that might imperil the entire solar system? This conspiracy also resonates with those who believe NASA hides advanced technology, implying the agency might have the means to transform planets in ways the public deems impossible. They argue that if NASA can cloak partnerships with aliens or develop off-world bases, then secret research to ignite a gas giant is not such a stretch. Detractors point out that NASA is perpetually under budget scrutiny, making it unlikely they could bankroll something so extravagant. Nevertheless, the Lucifer Project remains a testament to how far speculation can roam. It encapsulates the fear that space agencies may not merely explore, but also conduct high-stakes cosmic manipulations, all without informing humanity. While discussions about igniting planets might seem extreme, another major thread in NASA conspiracies is more corporate in tone. The so-called interplanetary corporate conglomerate ICC allegedly involves defense giants like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman orchestrating secret commerce with extraterrestrial races. In this narrative, NASA's public face is that of a peaceful, research-driven agency, but behind the scenes, it works hand in hand with powerful corporations to trade Earth technology like advanced microprocessors or artificial intelligence for alien knowledge. Believers contend these corporations handle deals that transcend Earth's legal systems and boundaries. Central to these claims is the idea that the ICC has a primary base on Mars, an industrial mega-complex employing thousands, possibly under coercive conditions. If the stories hold true, many workers were shipped to Mars in the 1980s under fraudulent recruitment schemes. Once there, they discovered they couldn't return and were effectively trapped. Their offspring inherited the same fate, forced to labor in subterranean factories or oversee advanced manufacturing processes for exotic goods. Some accounts even propose that entire families have lived on Mars for generations, cut off from Earth's public consciousness. Critics dismiss such allegations as pure fantasy, noting the absence of credible documentation or satellite evidence of massive Martian facilities. NASA's orbiters have imaged Mars extensively, revealing no sign of large-scale industrial complexes. Yet conspiracy theorists retort that these bases are concealed underground, hidden from prying cameras. They point out that NASA or aligned corporations could easily omit or edit telling images. After all, if the ICC represents a multi-trillion-dollar operation, controlling which data gets disseminated might be trivial. One particularly astonishing claim is that the ICC transacts in rare metals, specialized electronics, or even genetically engineered products valuable to extraterrestrials. The impetus aliens might have advanced starflight, but still appreciate unique earthly innovations or resources. This trade presumably enriches a secretive cabal of executives, leaving the rest of humanity in the dark. Proponents compare it to colonial-era exploitation, just as empires once employed forced labor in remote colonies. Earth-based corporations might be replicating that model on another planet, with NASA's tacit involvement or complicity. While such stories lack definitive proof, the ICC resonates with a broader suspicion that national governments and big business often collude out of public view. History has taught us that corporate interests sometimes override transparency and ethics. The idea that NASA, a symbol of open scientific inquiry, might be subservient to corporate imperatives feeds the narrative of an institution that exists to legitimize cosmic deals. The ICC conspiracy thus straddles the line between science fiction and plausible commentary on power dynamics. It weaves together mistrust of big business, the imagination of interstellar commerce, and NASA's secrecy. Whether or not it's based on real events, it highlights the dark suspicion that we might already be an interplanetary civilization, not as explorers, but as pawns in a cosmic market we barely understand. Another chapter in these conspiracies shifts the spotlight back in time to Nazi Germany, advanced research into esoteric phenomena, and a supposed alliance with reptilian aliens known as the Draco. Termed the Dark Fleet, this narrative claims that in the 1930s and 40s, the Third Reich secretly collaborated with an alien species that shared technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. In exchange, the Nazis provided the Draco with footholds on our planet, possibly aiming for eventual galactic expansion. Rumor states that subterranean bases in Antarctica or hidden complexes across Europe served as launch pads for early test flights of anti-gravity craft, bridging Nazi occult pursuits with Draco's advanced tech. It's said that from these collaborations emerged an entire secret armada known as the Dark Fleet, gigantic, heavily armed vessels, combining German engineering with alien design. Some go as far as suggesting Adolf Hitler's downfall was orchestrated by the Draco themselves once they had extracted all the value from his regime. This angle attempts to solve a puzzle. If the Draco was so mighty, why not simply seize Earth outright? Perhaps conspiracists say the aliens preferred subtle infiltration over full-scale invasion. The Nazis, with their authoritarian structure, were a convenient stepping stone. Operation Paperclip, a real historical program, then enters the picture. After World War II, the U.S. recruited dozens of Nazi scientists like Werner von Braun for rocket programs. According to Dark Fleet theorists, these scientists didn't just bring rocket expertise, they carried knowledge gleaned from alien cooperation. This infusion allegedly supercharged American aerospace ventures, culminating in NASA's birth. Officially, NASA disavows any link to extraterrestrial or Nazi occult research, citing the purely terrestrial nature of its rocket tech. Yet the conspiratorial slant sees the agency as an evolution of Nazi Draco alliances, continuing covert expansions into deep space under cover of benign exploration. Critics, of course, label these claims as either a gross exaggeration or outright invention. They note that the Draco concept seems heavily derived from science fiction tropes, especially reptilian overlords. The historical record does show Nazi interest in the occult and advanced weapons, but no tangible proof of alien contact. Additionally, Hitler's real downfall was quite well documented with no mention of an alien betrayal. Nonetheless, the Dark Fleet myth merges historical truths. Nazi rocket scientists with cosmic imagination, Draco alliances, forming a seductive narrative of hidden continuity from World War II to current black projects. This theory also touches on moral repugnance, the idea that the darkest regime in modern history might have harnessed off-world forces to terrorize Earth. For some conspiracists, this remains a chilling possibility. They view NASA's crisp white uniforms, triumphant lunar missions, and televised rocket launches as a sophisticated mask, while behind the scenes, a lineage of Nazi and alien synergy drives cosmic agendas. The tension between these extremes, heroic NASA achievements versus rumored Nazi-inspired shadow fleets, fuels the conspiracy's staying power. People ask, how much of our modern space conquest was earned fairly, and how much was built on pillars of secrecy in moral compromise? Shifting from historical alliances to speculations about planetary warfare, some conspirators argue that we see signs of ancient nuclear explosions on Mars, pointing to a civilization that destroyed itself long ago. This notion arises from certain datasets, including unusual isotopic ratios like xenon-129 in the Martian atmosphere. Typically, NASA and mainstream scientists attribute these isotopic signatures to natural cosmic or geological processes, but independent researchers interpret them as evidence of an immense nuclear event akin to a planet-wide war eons past. Photos from NASA's orbiters and rovers sometimes show oddly melted rock-bizarre crater formations or other anomalies reminiscent of nuclear blast sites on Earth. Could these be the lingering scars of a catastrophic conflict? If so, how far advanced were the Martian civilizations to wield such devastating weaponry? Further fueling the theory, some advocates claim that NASA is well aware of this cataclysmic past, but chooses silence. After all, acknowledging an ancient nuclear war on Mars could upend our sense of solar system history and possibly hint at dire lessons for Earth. The mainstream scientific community counters that many plausible natural explanations exist: volcanic activity, asteroid impacts, and eons of dust storms can produce seemingly artificial patterns. Martian geology is not fully understood, but attributing every anomaly to an ancient war, they argue, stretches credulity. Critics also question how an advanced civilization might arise on Mars when conditions were drastically different in the past, including a tenuous atmosphere and limited water supply. Despite such doubts, the appeal of a Martian nuclear apocalypse is evident. It suggests that humans might be the spiritual heirs of a cosmic tragedy, unknowingly retracing steps that led another species to self-annihilation. Additionally, the scenario ties neatly with other NASA conspiracies if the agency discovered remnants of a technologically advanced Martian species that would be the ultimate impetus for secrecy. Some conspiracists link the possibility of nuclear devastation on Mars to the idea that we share deep ancestral links. They propose that refugees fleeing a dying Mars seeded civilizations on Earth, referencing analogies to ancient myths about gods descending from the sky. While the official NASA line remains that no conclusive proof of ancient nuclear war exists, conspiracy theorists interpret NASA's dismissals as a strategic cover-up. They highlight the agency's perceived pattern. Every bizarre find is waved off as natural or minimal, and whenever an image sparks public curiosity, NASA provides mechanical explanations, but seldom fosters open debate on exotic theories. The repeated pattern of denial, say the conspiracists, only cements the idea that NASA is guarding profound secrets about Mars's hidden history. Real or not, the notion of nuclear ruins under Martian skies stands as one more testament to how readily we project human anxieties like fears of ultimate warfare onto the cosmic stage. Rounding out this first part of our journey, we have the secret Apollo 20 mission, an alleged collaborative endeavor between the United States and the Soviet Union that supposedly took place after NASA announced it was canceling Apollo missions 18, 19, and 20. Officially, budget constraints ended the Apollo program after Apollo 17, but rumors say these missions continued clandestinely, culminating in Apollo 20's dispatch to investigate a crashed alien spacecraft on the moon's far side. William Rutledge, a self-professed Apollo 20 astronaut, circulated images and videos that he claimed depicted the interior of a massive alien vessel replete with the remains of a mysterious humanoid female referred to as Mona Lisa. Unsurprisingly, NASA flatly denies any Apollo flights beyond the publicly known ones. Skeptics dismiss Rutledge's photographs and videos as digital fabrications. They point to inconsistencies in the alleged mission timelines, the suspiciously poor quality of the evidence, and the lack of any official records. Yet the internet remains abuzz with people dissecting these images, debating whether NASA airbrushed out glimpses of the spacecraft from official lunar photos. Some interpret the story as more than a hoax, contending that the mission's secrecy was vital to prevent widespread panic about aliens or to harness any advanced technology found in the wreckage. This narrative resonates with those who suspect that NASA's Apollo timeline was never about planting flags and collecting rocks alone. They propose the real impetus behind going to the moon was to retrieve exotic materials or study bizarre alien structures that NASA's reconnaissance missions had spotted. According to them, the cancelled Apollo missions were a smokescreen. The true missions went ahead, but were shrouded in tight secrecy. The notion that the Soviet Union cooperated at the height of the Cold War underscores how significant the discovery could be, a cosmic event eclipsing terrestrial rivalries. If one looks closely, the idea ties into other conspiracies as well. Some see the secret Apollo 20 as bridging the alleged moon aliens theory that we found a hostile presence on the lunar surface with a bigger storyline involving collaboration with the Soviets. Indeed, it would echo the theme that NASA's official narrative is a sanitized version for public consumption. Real NASA data conspiracists argue might reveal glimpses of crashed craft and alien corpses that remain locked in vaults. Irrespective of the story's veracity, the Apollo 20 lore thrives because it taps into a primal wonder, the idea that the moon could hold relics of advanced civilizations. It asks, if humanity discovered alien remains on Earth's cosmic doorstep, how would governments react? The suspicious hush or denial from NASA only heightens the plausibility for believers. In that sense, Apollo 20 encapsulates the essence of NASA. Conspiracy culture, mistrust of official endings, fascination with extraterrestrial technology. and faith that somewhere in NASA's labyrinth of classified documents lies the key to the greatest cosmic secret of all time. Planetary alliances and underground realms. Moving beyond the intrigues of secret missions, we encounter the concept of large-scale alliances formed to manage or conceal extraterrestrial affairs. One popular notion is the Global Galactic League of Nations, which conspiracy theorists liken to an interplanetary version of the historical League of Nations. They claim that sometime in the early 20th century, and especially during World War II, UFO sightings intensified around the globe. Government leaders, realizing this phenomenon transcended individual national interests, created a covert council. The mission quickly retrieve crashed UFOs, study alien technology, and prevent any single nation from monopolizing these finds. According to these stories, the United States and the Soviet Union, while publicly locked in ideological conflict, cooperated behind closed doors on UFO research. Each UFO retrieval in a member country was swiftly transferred to either the US or the USSR. Despite the fierce competition, a secret hotline allowed these two superpowers to share breakthroughs. The objective, believers argue, was to maintain a careful balance, so that neither side would gain an insurmountable advantage from alien tech. In this scenario, NASA's role might be more complicated than it appears. It could serve as the official face of space exploration while funneling crucial data or recovered artifacts to the League's hidden labs. Many find these claims fanciful, given the secrecy would require among multiple nations. Yet conspiracists point to scattered historical anecdotes. Nazi Germany allegedly retrieved a UFO from the Himalayas. Joseph Stalin supposedly oversaw a Siberian UFO salvage. Add in the backdrop of the Cold War's real espionage and covert operations, and the story becomes less outlandish, at least to some. Documents remain elusive, but the theory's endurance suggests a public thirst for explanations about persistent UFO sightings that mainstream experts label as misinterpretations or illusions. When the Soviet Union dissolved, believers say a power vacuum emerged within the League. Did Russia inherit the USSR's seat? Did that shift the clandestine global balance? Perhaps the entire structure frayed, leading to decreased cooperation and chaotic UFO handling protocols in the 1990s. That might explain an upsurge in unverified sightings around the world. NASA, in the meantime, would continue its outward mission of public science while quietly participating in the League's efforts to keep alien contact under wraps. Skeptics rightfully ask, if so many countries are involved, how has no definitive leak surfaced? The response is often that advanced disinformation campaigns coupled with severe reprisals for whistleblowers maintain silence. Some ex-military officials upon retirement have dropped vague hints about multinational committees addressing UFO incidents. Yet nothing conclusive has been produced, only fueling the conspiratorial cycle. Still, the concept of a global galactic league remains a staple for those convinced that Earth's governments, NASA included, are well aware of alien visitations. It underscores a theme that global elites unify behind cosmic secrets, even when they appear at odds on the global political stage. If true, it would recast international relations in a dramatic new light, one in which the cosmos, rather than earthly competition, shapes the ultimate agenda. In a similarly grand vein, some speak of an Earth alliance, a hidden coalition that wages clandestine wars against shadowy terrestrial and extraterrestrial foes, namely the Illuminati and the reptilian Draco. This concept is reminiscent of science fiction universes like Babylon 5, where Earth unites behind a single command to repel alien threats. Conspiracy theorists argue that such media portrayals are deliberate, acclimating the public to real but hidden truths. NASA, in this context, remains an operational arm of a grander alliance, sometimes collaborating with the U.S. military or Black Ops divisions to combat extraterrestrial infiltration. A particularly audacious claim is that the Earth Alliance influenced major political events. One example often cited is the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Stories circulate of secret groups helping Donald Trump to power specifically so he could dismantle the Draco's underground bases and the Illuminati's global grip. Right after Trump's inauguration, these theorists say a wave of covert strikes targeted subterranean strongholds across the world, sites used by reptilian aliens or Illuminati elites to manipulate governments. They even describe pitched battles reminiscent of Hollywood blockbusters with advanced warships intercepting Draco vessels that attempted to flee Earth. Naturally, no official records corroborate such a sweeping conflict. NASA, along with every other mainstream entity, offers no comment. Detractors see these stories as imaginative constructs that map modern political controversies onto cosmic narratives. Yet for believers, the lack of confirmation is consistent with the covert nature of these operations. If the Earth Alliance truly exists, they reason NASA's advanced technology like secret propulsion systems or orbital weapons would be indispensable. The idea that NASA's visible achievements like launching satellites are overshadowed by an invisible war-fighting capacity is consistent with many conspiracy frameworks. What fuels the Earth Alliance myth is its storyline of good versus evil, with earthly factions uniting against reptilian overlords or cunning Illuminati. It resonates with age-old motifs of epic struggles. The conspiratorial angle layers in politics attempts to discredit certain administrations, become part of the Draco's manipulations, while alliances with them are portrayed as traitorous deals. Meanwhile, secret heroes work behind the scenes to free humanity. For those who believe NASA keeps watch from orbit, the idea of starship dogfights happening just beyond our atmosphere is not far-fetched. It's the next logical extension of a grand cosmic chess match. Critics highlight that real space technology, as publicly known, is nowhere near the advanced weapons required for such battles. They also point to the complex drama of global politics. Can massive operations remain invisible in an age of ubiquitous satellites and citizen journalists? Nonetheless, Earth Alliance adherents remain confident that black projects funded by staggering black budgets enable NASA and allied forces to remain technologically ahead of public knowledge. Whether one sees it as a grand heroic narrative or an unsubstantiated fantasy, the Earth Alliance storyline underscores the pervasive conviction that NASA's role is far broader than we realize, reaching into clandestine conflicts that shape humanity's fate in ways the average person might never suspect. Transitioning from cosmic conflicts to historical realities, we confront Operation Paperclip, a documented program through which the U.S. government recruited former Nazi scientists at the end of World War II. This is no fabrication. Werner von Braun, a key figure in Nazi Germany's rocket program, was brought to America and became a leading architect of NASA's Saturn V rocket. Official justifications stated that capturing Nazi expertise was necessary to outpace the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Yet the moral implications were immense. These scientists had directly served a horrific regime, and some had participated in war crimes or inhumane experiments. Although Operation Paperclip is historically verified, conspiracy theorists add a secret twist. They claim these Nazis didn't just bring conventional rocket know-how, but also advanced knowledge gleaned from possible extraterrestrial contact or occult research. Certain fringe versions tie this to the rumored Nazi-Draco alliance, contending that the Third Reich had partial access to off-world technologies. Thus, NASA's early successes, particularly the Apollo missions, may have been propelled by more than just ingenious engineering. They might have leveraged alien science. The fact that Operation Paperclip remained secret for years helps stoke these claims, suggesting that if the government was willing to hide the Nazi origins of its space talent, it might have hidden other aspects too. In mainstream discourse, NASA acknowledges von Braun's complicated past, but frames his role as purely technical. Supporters of the official narrative point out that NASA's breakthroughs, no matter how impressive, do not necessarily indicate alien input. They resulted from methodical, incremental research involving thousands of engineers, not from a hidden trove of alien knowledge. Nonetheless, the Nazi infiltration storyline remains persistent in conspiracy circles, because it squares well with other theories. If NASA was built on morally dubious foundations, what else might the agency conceal? Ethical debates about Operation Paperclip extend to broader philosophical questions. Is it ever acceptable to overlook atrocities for the sake of scientific advancement? Many people felt a deep sense of betrayal, learning that war criminals had been quietly integrated into U.S. institutions. Conspiracists argue that this reveal is only the tip of the iceberg. NASA's reticence about ethically questionable origins indicates a pattern of secrecy that might include cosmic revelations as well. In other words, if NASA is comfortable whitewashing the histories of Nazi scientists, it could also be comfortable whitewashing contact with alien species or advanced planetary bases. To critics of these expanded claims, the historical reality is more than enough. Operation Paperclip did occur, and it was morally problematic. But the leap to extraterrestrial technology remains unsubstantiated. They say an attempt to fuse real scandal with sci-fi speculation. Even so, within the conspiracy realm, Operation Paperclip stands as a potent example of how NASA's official narrative might diverge from deeper truths. It underscores an overarching theme. Once an institution demonstrates it can hide important details, the door is open for speculation about other, even more sweeping secrets. The presence of ex-Nazi scientists at NASA therefore becomes a gateway to suspect everything else the agency professes to be true. Shifting focus, we come to the Martian massacre, a hypothesis that ancient Mars was ravaged by an all-out war, perhaps involving nuclear weapons. Some suggest at least two advanced Martian civilizations, commonly labeled Cydonia and Utopia, waged a planet-ruining conflict. The battered Martian landscape with its huge canyons, craters, and dried riverbeds might reveal remnants of a once thriving world. Proponents say NASA's rovers have photographed melted terrain and strange rock formations that cannot be fully explained by volcanic or impact processes, where mainstream geology sees natural forces. Conspiracists see evidence of cataclysmic energy, bursts consistent with nuclear detonations. Their claims fit neatly into a tapestry that includes rumored nuclear anomalies discovered by NASA's instruments like spikes in Xenon 129. The argument is that NASA recognized these anomalies as vestiges of artificial nuclear activity, but withheld the data to avoid mass panic or fundamental shifts in how we view cosmic history. The logic is that if advanced Martian civilizations annihilated themselves acknowledging it publicly, might underscore a warning to humanity. We could share their fate if we remain on a path of proliferation and planetary irresponsibility. Critics are quick to note simpler explanations. The solar system is a violent place with meteors, solar radiation, and geological upheavals shaping planetary surfaces. Ancient floods, repeated asteroid strikes, or massive volcanic eruptions could produce landscapes that mimic the aftereffects of nuclear warfare. Moreover, NASA has generally been forthright with rover and orbiter images, releasing them in near real time. To orchestrate a grand cover-up would require an implausibly large network of complicit engineers and scientists. Nevertheless, the Martian massacre resonates with the broader suspicion that NASA is not telling us everything about Mars. The red planet is ripe for speculation, especially given hints of past water flows, potential microbe-friendly niches, and perplexing discoveries like methane bursts. If NASA discovered a cataclysmic war on Mars, it could challenge everything from theological perspectives to Earth-centric arrogance. Some conspiracists add that NASA's real mission is to glean lessons from Mars's downfall, covertly preparing Earth's elites for similar threats. Perhaps this is why colonization remains a top priority behind the official facade of scientific curiosity. A race is on to secure off-world refuges. This narrative also underscores a fundamental attraction of NASA conspiracies. They often pivot on the tension between official data and interpretive leaps. NASA presents images that are open to public viewing, but conspiracy advocates believe crucial evidence is omitted, carefully sanitized, or downplayed. In the case of Mars, the unknowns loom large as the planet remains tantalizingly close, yet still mysterious. The notion of a Martian civilization destroyed by its own weapons transforms that mystery into a cosmic lesson about the perils of advanced technology, a lesson NASA supposedly is determined not to broadcast. Even if the story lacks solid proof, it remains one of the more compelling visions of what might have transpired on our nearest planetary neighbor, long before humanity looked up to the stars. In tandem with speculations of ancient Martian wars, we encounter accounts of black night satellites, supposedly extraterrestrial objects orbiting Earth for thousands of years. While the official stance is that any oddly tracked satellites are mere debris, conspiracists date reports back to the early 20th century, decades before humanity launched its first artificial satellite. A 1954 rumor that the U.S. Air Force detected a mysterious satellite in polar orbit fueled the idea. Polarity matters because early satellites usually followed equatorial paths. Something orbiting from pole to pole was advanced for that time period. NASA has repeatedly labeled suspicious sightings as cosmic junk rocket stages, lost thermal blankets, or sensor glitches. Yet those convinced say NASA is covering up an alien probe planted to monitor Earth over millennia. They point to Tesla's 1899 experiments, in which he reportedly received cosmic signals. Some interpret these signals as transmissions from the Black Knight. The story resurfaces in modern times whenever an odd piece of space debris is photographed. For example, images from the 1998 Space Shuttle Endeavour mission show a dark, irregular object which NASA identified as a piece of thermal insulation. Conspiracy believers, however, remain certain it's the mythical alien satellite. What makes this narrative alluring is its ancient origin claim, 13,000 years or more of silent orbit. It suggests an extraterrestrial intelligence that found Earth fascinating enough to watch, but not contact. The name Black Knight conjures secrecy as if it's a sentinel. NASA's official denials merely strengthen the conspiratorial stance. If the agency had no reason to hide anything, it wouldn't be so quick to dismiss these sightings. The rumor thrives on sporadic bursts of attention each time a strange object is glimpsed in orbit. Skeptics highlight the logistical difficulty of an object circling Earth undiscovered for so long, given the crowded environment of Earth's orbit today. Many ground-based radars and telescopes monitor satellites and debris, making a stealthy satellite improbable. They also question the reliability of old anecdotes. Did the U.S. Air Force truly track an unknown object, or did it track a known but incorrectly identified one? Similarly, Tesla's references to signals from space could have originated from natural phenomena like pulsars or cosmic static. There is no clear link to the so-called Black Knight. Nonetheless, the Black Knight stands as a prime example of how NASA conspiracies fuse historical oddities with present-day misinterpretations. Photos are relabeled or recontextualized, historical claims get repeated in new forms, and each wave of publicity adds another layer of mystery. The idea that we might already be under observation resonates with deeper concerns about cosmic vulnerability. It also complements the suspicion that NASA is actively engaged in burying evidence of alien presence. In this sense, the Black Knight is less about a single piece of orbiting material and more about an enduring question. Are we truly alone? Or have watchers been here all along their existence, carefully concealed by agencies mandated to keep humanity safe from uncomfortable truths? Meanwhile, stories of a Mars Defense Force (MDF) present another dimension of conspiracies claiming secret expansions beyond Earth. According to alleged insiders, the MDF is a multinational army tasked with protecting not just research stations, but entire cities on Mars' underground colonies thriving beneath the planet's surface. Some narratives mention 5 large colonies, each with ecosystems, water sources, and social hierarchies akin to Earth. The biggest threats, an ancient native Martian race said to be antagonistic to human expansion, and additional alien species with ambiguous agendas. A self-described former soldier claims to have spent nearly 2 decades on Mars, describing wars against indigenous Martians and references to advanced technology that includes time manipulation. The story then goes that after this 20-year service, personnel are age-regressed, memory wiped, and return to Earth with no conscious recollection of their time off-world. Such claims, if taken at face value, would require NASA's active participation, coordinating secret missions, advanced propulsion, and mind-boggling capabilities like reversing biological aging. Critics point out there is zero verifiable evidence of such feats, labeling them as science fiction overshadowing real science. Still, the idea of militarized Mars bases captures a potent combination of human ambition and cosmic peril. It resonates with the notion that if humanity can set foot on the Moon, why not Mars? If NASA's public progress seems slow, rovers here, orbiters there, perhaps that's simply a front to hide a massive infrastructure. Conspiracists argue that infinite black budgets and groundbreaking discoveries like anti-gravity or wormhole travel could permit extensive off-world colonization. NASA's official stance is that Mars colonization remains an aspiration for the future, limited by funds, technology, and the harshness of interplanetary travel. But conspiracy proponents see that explanation as a smokescreen. One reason the MDF storyline fascinates is its imaginative blend of geopolitics and cosmic frontiers. It envisions Earth's governments cooperating in secret, overshadowing terrestrial disputes in favor of controlling Martian territory. Some versions depict the ICC interplanetary corporate conglomerate as playing a role ensuring resources are extracted from Mars, while the MDF enforces security. As with other NASA conspiracies, the notion relies on the assumption that normal checks and balances like scientific peer review, media reporting, or international oversight are effectively neutralized. A vast web of suppression is presumed. In reality, NASA's missions to Mars are among the most transparent in space exploration, with raw images from rovers quickly released to the public. For conspiracy theorists, though, any lag or glitch in data transmission is an opportunity to speculate about scrubbing or editing evidence of structures or alien life. The MDF saga thrives because it merges the excitement of colonizing Mars with the drama of hidden wars. If you believe in advanced breakaway technologies, it's entirely plausible that NASA and world powers have quietly taken the next step. Whether that step is motivated by scientific curiosity, resource exploitation, or a cosmic power game is up for debate. Closely related to the MDF claims is the Red Space Project conspiracy, which posits that NASA secretly dispatched manned missions to Mars decades before official timelines suggest. Proponents say this hush-hush endeavor began in the 1970s or 1980s, concurrently with the end of Apollo and the start of the Space Shuttle era. They cite declassified documents mentioning military-run space stations and advanced craft prototypes as circumstantial evidence. If such technology existed, they argue NASA could have reached Mars covertly building a rudimentary base before the public even grasped the possibility. A vocal proponent, Randy Kramer, allegedly part of these clandestine operations, claims he served on Mars for years in subterranean facilities. He describes a parallel NASA that overshadowed the one the public sees, harnessing advanced propulsion methods leaps ahead of standard chemical rockets. Kramer's account includes intriguing details, training in desert regions made to mimic Martian landscape, specialized gear for acclimating to low pressure, and even protocols for interacting with indigenous Martians. Of course, official NASA lines deny these narratives, stating that no manned mission to Mars has occurred due to cost, technical barriers, and the sheer danger involved. Skeptics note that fabricating a secret interplanetary program would be extraordinarily challenging. Thousands of personnel would need to be kept silent, rockets or anti-gravity craft launched without detection, and budget lines hidden from oversight committees. However, conspiracists retort that the labyrinth of U.S. black budgets, along with Cold War secrecy, could overshadow even large-scale projects. They also point to occasionally leaked references to Project Red Sun or other code names that might allude to covert Martian activities. This saga intersects with the question of why NASA continues to send rovers if humans already dwell there. The answer, some say, is misdirection. Robotic missions keep the public intrigued and funnel billions of dollars to official channels. Meanwhile, The real breakthroughs remain classified. Another angle suggests that NASA uses these rovers to learn about areas not yet colonized or to search for relics of ancient Martian civilizations. The entire program might be an elaborate facade to cultivate a sense of normal progress, while the hidden project advances on a different timeline. One might ask, where's the physical proof? Photographs, samples, or defector testimonies? Conspiracists highlight that any photographic leaks would be swiftly discredited or removed, and whistleblowers face potential disinformation campaigns. The theme reemerges. NASA's outward transparency conceals an inner sanctum that only a select few know about. Whether you find that plausible or contrived likely depends on your predisposition toward distrust in officialdom. Yet the Red Space Project remains a captivating possibility because it dangles a scenario wherein humanity took bold strides into the cosmos, forging a future off-world while intentionally leaving the rest of us in the dark. Not all conspiracies revolve around alien crafts or hidden bases. Some revolve around simpler yet equally monumental topics like the discovery of microbial life on Mars that NASA might have covered up. The story typically centers on the Viking probes launched in 1976. Dr. Gilbert Levin's labeled release experiment purportedly tested Martian soil and received results consistent with living microorganisms. Levin maintained for decades that NASA prematurely dismissed the findings as chemical anomalies. He suspects the agency feared confirming extraterrestrial life without absolute certainty, lest it unleash profound social, religious, and political upheavals. Over time, other scientists who worked on the Viking missions have echoed Levin's suspicions. They point to additional data that could indicate microbial processes. Nonetheless, NASA's official stance remains that Viking's data were inconclusive, citing the need for further corroboration. As missions like Curiosity Perseverance and Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter explore the red planet, each new glimpse of potential organics or methane spikes re-energizes conspiracy theorists. They interpret NASA's cautious language. We can't confirm life yet as a strategic stall, gradually preparing the public for a future bombshell revelation. Why hide proof of microbial life? Some argue NASA dreaded provoking religious crises. Others say the government worried about contamination issues, potential claims on Martian property, or even bioethical tangles. Another angle is that revealing microbial life early on might have overshadowed or interfered with bigger secret agendas. NASA, they claim, wants to establish bases or extract resources quietly, unimpeded by global scrutiny or United Nations protocols that might arise if life on Mars were recognized. Critics of this viewpoint note that NASA consistently seeks budget increases, and a confirmed discovery of life would likely result in massive funding boosts rather than constraints. In the conspiracist mind, however, short-term gains might disrupt carefully curated long-term plans. Despite the official disclaimers, the possibility that NASA found microbes decades ago and played it down resonates with a more general sentiment: the public is fed half-truths. If NASA is proven to have been lying about microbial life, it begs the question, what else might they be hiding? This shadow casts a wide net linking smaller conspiracies like the Viking results to more elaborate ones about crashed spacecraft or massive Martian cities. The logic flows like this: if NASA would withhold something as comparatively minor as bacteria, imagine what it would do with incontrovertible evidence of advanced beings. For better or worse, the debate highlights a broader tension in science communication. NASA's caution arises from the scientific method which demands replication and thorough analysis before dramatic conclusions. Conspiracists retort that the agency is simply too cagey, repetitively hedging breakthroughs under disclaimers of, "We're not certain." Ultimately, the notion of a hidden Viking discovery is enthralling because it suggests a threshold crossed decades ago. We were never truly alone. But if NASA remains silent, conspiracists warn we may never hear the real story behind that quiet beep from Martian soil some 50 years past. Concluding part surf, we touch on the phenomenon of NASA's alleged encounters with artificial structures in space, captured by the Hubble telescope. Over the years, numerous images, some genuine, some hoaxed, have circulated online purporting to show linear constructs, geometric shapes, or vast alien architectures lurking among the stars. NASA consistently refutes these claims, explaining them as digital artifacts, cosmic rays striking the sensors, or simply imaginative interpretation of random cosmic formations. Still, conspiracy chatter insists that Hubble has glimpsed Dyson spheres, hypothetical megastructures that advanced civilizations might build around stars to capture energy. Alternatively, they speak of giant ring-like stations orbiting distant planets. The theory posits that NASA swiftly censors or classifies such images, either removing them from public databases or releasing them with certain segments blurred or corrected. Some claim NASA terminates live feeds or retracts entire datasets whenever something inexplicable appears. The result is a persistent rumor that truly compelling evidence of alien engineering has already crossed NASA's desk. Critics argue that every case trotted out by conspiracists is readily explainable. Dust motes on lenses, streaks from high-energy cosmic rays, or noise in digital detectors can all create shapes that momentarily look artificial. The scientific community points to the complexity of space imaging. For instance, capturing a faint galaxy requires long exposures that can accumulate random bright spots. It's an environment ripe for illusions. NASA's open archives, they note, host millions of images. If the agency were deeply involved in scrubbing evidence, it would be an overwhelming task, and amateurs would likely catch discrepancies. Yet the notion of hidden mega-engineering resonates strongly with those who suspect NASA of systematically downplaying anything that might confirm we are not alone. The revelations would be monumental, shaking religious institutions, philosophical frameworks, and global politics. For some conspiracists, NASA's protective posture suggests an arrangement with alien powers that prefer secrecy. Alternatively, NASA may fear that unveiling indisputable proof of advanced extraterrestrials could spur panic or make humanity feel woefully inferior. Meanwhile, NASA's consistent statements about never encountering artificial structures hardly quell the rumors. In a sense, the idea that Hubble is glimpsing cosmic wonders beyond natural phenomena is a direct reflection of our yearning for the extraordinary. The telescope's majestic images evoke awe, and some need that awe to manifest concretely, not just in natural cosmic processes, but in intelligence older and grander than our own. The tension between NASA's scientific approach and the conspiracists' imaginative leaps is what keeps these rumors alive. Every time NASA publishes a new deep-field image, thousands scrutinize every pixel for evidence of symmetrical patterns or mechanized geometry. In this dance, NASA's supposed disclaimers or sudden feed cuts feed the conspiratorial narrative. Whether or not the telescope has truly photographed alien artifacts remains unproven. But the hunger for that proof and the suspicion that NASA would hide it shows no sign of abating. Cosmic whispers and hidden voices. In this third and final part, we explore some of the most ethereal dimensions of the NASA conspiracy universe. Reports of mysterious sounds, alleged weather manipulation projects, and sightings of space angels. Each theme reinforces the idea that the gap between NASA's official narrative and conspiracy claims can grow astonishingly wide, encompassing everything from psychological illusions to cosmic signals that might be interstellar messages. As we traverse these topics, remember that conspiracy theories often thrive where hard evidence is minimal, leaving ample room for interpretation. First up is the phenomenon of strange sounds in space. Throughout the history of space travel, various astronauts from Apollo crews to Russian cosmonauts and Chinese taikonauts have recounted hearing inexplicable noises. Some describe them as eerie music, others as rhythmic knocking on the hull. NASA has repeatedly provided logical explanations: thermal expansion, slight interior structural shifts, or illusions caused by microgravity conditions that confuse the human inner ear. Additionally, cosmic rays can interact with astronauts' vision or auditory nerves, leading to fleeting sensory anomalies. However, believers in hidden cosmic signals propose that these sounds might be attempts at communication from extraterrestrial civilizations. A famous case is Apollo 10's space music heard on the far side of the moon. The recordings, kept confidential for years, fueled suspicions that NASA intentionally withheld them to avoid fueling UFO speculation. NASA eventually released them, attributing the sounds to radio interference between spacecraft modules. The conspiratorial twist is that no one has conclusively identified the precise cause, leaving the door open to more sensational interpretations. If NASA encountered legitimate signals from an alien intelligence, would it share such a revelation openly, considering the agency's general stance of cautious, incremental announcements? Many suspect not. This tension is emblematic of the broader environment in which NASA conspiracies flourish. NASA's measured scientific approach, which rarely leaps to extraordinary conclusions, can seem dismissive. Meanwhile, any official reticence or error is taken as proof that something monumental is being concealed. Sometimes even NASA's direct statements, like "we have no evidence of alien signals," become suspect, read as carefully worded half-truths. For believers, an unexplainable phenomenon in orbit must be linked to intelligence, and NASA's role is to keep us in the dark until some cryptic agenda is fulfilled. In truth, space is an environment of extremes. The interplay of vacuum cosmic rays and complicated spacecraft systems can indeed produce bizarre, disorienting effects. But the idea that these strange sounds are messages resonates because it touches on two primal questions. Are we alone? And if not, might they be trying to contact us? NASA's official disclaimers become less persuasive in the face of repeated astronaut testimonies. Ultimately, the simple possibility that cosmic lullabies might exist stirs the imagination, overshadowing mundane explanations. That spark of wonder is often the essential fuel for a conspiracy theory. Another line of contention arises around the HAARP project, the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, launched in the early 1990s in Alaska. Officially, HAARP studied the ionosphere to enhance radio communication, but from the beginning, It sparked speculation about weather control or even mind control. While HARP was funded largely by the U.S. Air Force and Navy, NASA sometimes appears in related conspiracy narratives because it's perceived as the apex of secret scientific projects. Critics point to HARP's capabilities for beaming high-frequency signals into the ionosphere, claiming it can manipulate weather patterns, generate storms, and even trigger earthquakes. NASA typically distances itself from HARP, explaining it had minimal direct involvement. Still, the public lumps them together, seeing them as arms of the same establishment. Conspiracy theorists highlight coincidences, catastrophic hurricanes or unseasonable weather correlated with periods when HARP was active. They also mention the devastating 2011 Japan earthquake and tsunami, alleging that HARP transmissions somehow destabilized fault lines. Mainstream scientists scoff at such ideas, noting that the energy output of HARP is insignificant compared to natural, atmospheric, or tectonic forces. Even the project's operational data is publicly available, complicating claims of a hush-hush scheme. Yet the secrecy that once surrounded HARP, some aspects were indeed classified, has fueled imagination. People ask, why fund a massive antenna array in the Alaskan wilderness just for benign research? Could NASA or other agencies have harnessed this technology to engineer natural disasters as geopolitical weapons? The underlying notion is that if NASA can build rockets and rovers, perhaps it also invests in more devious experiments. The fear is that we are crossing ethical boundaries by weaponizing the planet's climate. A few conspiracists even claim NASA has satellites that interface with HARP, forming a global weather control grid. The official explanation is consistent. HARP's scope is purely scientific, used to study phenomena like the auroras or radio wave propagation. It was eventually handed over to the University of Alaska Fairbanks to quell rumors of military wrongdoing. But conspiracists remain unconvinced. The reluctance of authorities to engage fully with outlandish charges fosters suspicion. If NASA is typically tight-lipped about radical technology, the logic goes that might confirm these allegations. In reality, the interplay between technology, secrecy, and a public mistrust often yields these narratives. Whenever large-scale facilities operate under partial classification, conspiracy theories blossom. NASA's reputation for advanced research makes it an easy suspect. If a clandestine project has a scientific veneer, NASA must be involved. The HARP example underscores a deeper theme. Many of these conspiracies revolve around the idea that agencies like NASA manipulate both Earth and space behind a facade of benign exploration. No matter how many scientists step forward to debunk it, the notion of weather wars resonates with the public's fear that we are meddling in realms once thought purely natural. For believers, the threat extends beyond rockets and UFOs to the very climate we depend on for survival, with NASA quietly pulling the strings from orbit. One of the most mesmerizing accounts tying NASA, or at least the wider space community, to inexplicable phenomena is the 1984 Salyut 7 Space Angels event. Soviet cosmonauts reported seeing enormous humanoid figures glowing with orange light floating just outside their station. This spectacle was so astonishing that the cosmonauts could hardly believe their eyes. Skeptics immediately questioned whether it was stress-induced hallucination or a reflection of interior lights on the station windows. Yet subsequent replacements on Salyut 7 reportedly saw the same beings, intensifying the mystery. NASA's link comes via knowledge sharing during the Cold War. Even though the US and the USSR were rivals, they occasionally exchanged critical information on spaceflight safety. Conspiracy theorists posit that NASA learned of these sightings through back channels but chose to remain silent. If verified space angels would challenge conventional science, were they alien life forms, interdimensional entities, or glimpses of an optical phenomenon so rare it defies classification? The official stance from both Russia and NASA has been measured denial, neither confirming nor offering a detailed explanation. This story underscores the emotional and spiritual dimension of NASA conspiracy. Reports of angelic beings tapping on a spaceship window evoke biblical imagery, bridging old mythologies with new frontiers. For those who seek divine or mystical experiences, space might be the perfect setting. If the cosmos indeed hosts entities that watch over humanity, it resonates with millennia of religious narratives about guardian spirits. NASA's alleged silence then becomes a continuation of a much older pattern. Institutions controlling knowledge about spiritual realities to maintain social order. Skeptics label the entire phenomenon as a product of sensory deprivation or group psychology. The environment aboard Salyut 7 was extremely isolated, and cosmic radiation can produce visual illusions. Yet believers argue that it's improbable multiple trained astronauts would share identical hallucinations. They also question the motivations behind NASA's hush. If the Americans had evidence of such a dramatic event, why keep quiet unless they wanted to preserve a stable worldview? It's these deeply human questions that make the Space Angels episode such a potent part of NASA conspiracies, even though NASA only tangentially features. We yearn for cosmic wonders that reaffirm our sense of connection with something larger. The possibility that angels or benevolent alien watchers dwell in orbit challenges materialistic conceptions of space as a silent vacuum. In the end, whether the 1984 sightings were illusions or genuine encounters, they fuel the idea that the final frontier might house realities we cannot yet categorize. If NASA or other agencies do have more documentation, conspiracists surmise it would be withheld for fear of sparking a global spiritual or existential crisis. Thus, the Space Angels remain emblematic of the interplay between cosmic awe and institutional secrecy. Examining these stories from HARP to Space Angels, we see recurring themes that unify NASA conspiracies. One key thread is the tension between public trust and institutional secrecy. NASA is officially a civilian agency, priding itself on openness. It publishes vast amounts of mission data streams, rocket launches, and encourages citizen science. Yet hints of collaboration with classified military programs persist. Documents, some partially redacted, show that NASA cooperates with the Department of Defense on certain technology transfers. While these might be pragmatic partnerships, conspiracists interpret them as evidence of deeper alliances. Another theme is the malleability of scientific data. Each NASA mission produces enormous datasets, images, measurements, logs. The general public only sees curated results. Even if NASA were wholly transparent, complexities in the data might only be understood by specialists, leaving room for conspiracy theorists to claim they're hiding something. In the era of the Internet, every NASA photo or statement can be parsed frame by frame, pixel by pixel, fueling claims that anomalies are suspicious or deliberately obscured. Where scientists see digital noise, conspiracists see cosmic secrets. Moreover, there's the aspect of technological leaps. NASA's public progress appears incremental from Mercury to Gemini, Apollo the space shuttle, and now Artemis. Yet these conspiracies posit that in a hidden parallel track, NASA is leaps ahead developing anti-gravity engines, forging alliances with alien species, or harnessing cosmic forces like the Lucifer Project. Such a narrative arises partly from frustration. If NASA can land men on the moon in the 1960s, why do we not have bases there or manned missions beyond Earth orbit today? Conspiracists interpret NASA's slowed momentum as proof that official exploration is overshadowed by covert achievements. A final through line is philosophical. Are we alone in the universe? Many NASA conspiracies revolve around potential alien presence, be it hidden lunar bases, Martian civilizations, or watchers in near-Earth orbit. The suggestion that NASA found definitive proof but withholds it implies a paternalistic stance, as though the agency thinks the public can't handle the truth. This resonates with older narratives about governments concealing UFO evidence. NASA's disclaimers typically emphasize a lack of definitive evidence, but for those predisposed to suspicions, denials only strengthen their belief that NASA carefully protects a cosmic secret. In summation, NASA conspiracies flourish in the space between the agency's enormous public profile and the inherent complexity of space science. People see an institution that once achieved monumental feats like the moon landings, but now drips out discoveries at a measured pace. Coupled with occasional hush or confusion regarding UFOs or unverified events, the stage is set for myths to thrive. From weather manipulation to space angels, the conspiratorial lens transforms NASA into a monolithic keeper of cosmic truths, abetted by black budgets, corporate interests, and shadowy alliances. Why do these conspiracy theories endure despite repeated rebuttals? Sociologically, part of the reason lies in the skepticism of large institutions that has grown over recent decades. High-profile government deceptions, Watergate, MKUltra, or hidden nuclear testing prove that secrets can indeed be kept sometimes for years. NASA, as a government-funded body, isn't immune to the distrust that accompanies large bureaucracies. Each time NASA withholds or delays information, even for benign reasons, it intensifies suspicion among those already inclined to doubt official statements. Culturally, mass media and popular entertainment have also shaped how we view NASA. Movies and TV often show intelligence agencies concealing extraterrestrial contact to avoid mass panic. For an audience steeped in such storylines, real NASA press conferences appear suspiciously bland, just the kind of sanitized messaging a cover-up would produce. Social media amplifies these narratives, allowing rumors to circulate uncontested within echo chambers. Even if NASA tries to clarify, conspiratorial communities interpret the explanation as further spin. A psychological factor is also at play. We seek grand narratives that make sense of the world's complexity. NASA conspiracies offer a cosmic-scale drama, hidden battles, alliances with alien powers, or suppressed discoveries that reframe humanity's place in the universe. These stories can be more emotionally satisfying than the often frustrating incrementalism of real science. People want wonder, they want revelation, they want shock and awe. NASA's day-to-day reality of carefully measured data and cautious language can feel anticlimactic by comparison. Additionally, political influences sometimes weaponize conspiracy theories for ideological ends. For instance, claims that NASA manipulated climate data feed into broader narratives of governmental overreach. Alternatively, a sensational rumor like NASA orchestrating a new sun via the Lucifer Project can be tied to mistrust of scientific elites. In this swirling environment, NASA becomes a symbol either of humankind's noblest aspirations or of hidden authoritarianism, depending on one's viewpoint. However, it's crucial to remember that NASA itself is comprised of thousands of individuals, many dedicated to transparency and scientific integrity. The vast majority of its missions share raw data openly. The existence of black budgets or collaboration with intelligence agencies doesn't necessarily mean NASA is orchestrating cosmic illusions. Rather, these complexities might be overshadowed by simpler bureaucratic or defense-driven imperatives. Yet conspiracies flourish precisely because official channels do not or cannot divulge every detail. Hence, NASA remains a magnet for speculation. The more it accomplishes, sending rovers to Mars, photographing exoplanets, capturing galaxies on the edge of the observable universe, the more expansive the conspiracies become. It's a testament to the primal allure of the unknown. As we push deeper into space, the potential for real discovery merges seamlessly with the potential for imaginative speculation. Conspiracy theories act as a cultural barometer, measuring our yearning for secrets, our fascination with cosmic frontiers, and our enduring suspicion that behind every official pronouncement lies a labyrinth of undisclosed truths. One area that continues to puzzle watchers of NASA's behavior is how it handles UFO-related topics. Despite NASA's repeated assertion that it has found no evidence of alien spacecraft, new sightings and revelations keep emerging, some from Navy pilots, others from declassified government documents. In recent years, the U.S. military has rebranded UFOs as UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. NASA has made ambiguous statements about being open to investigating UAPs. For conspiracy theorists, these half-steps are read as incremental disclosure steps toward eventually admitting a cosmic reality that has been hidden for decades. Critics note that if NASA truly had access to definitive alien spacecraft, one might expect them to replicate that technology publicly to expedite space exploration. Why keep using chemical rockets for launches? The conspiratorial rebuttal is that revealing advanced propulsion gleaned from UFOs would collapse entire industries and reorder global geopolitics. Or perhaps NASA is just a small cog in a larger machine. Any disclosure is the Pentagon's purview, not NASA's. This fosters the notion that NASA's own scientists might be compartmentalized, aware only of the official missions, while separate shadow groups handle the real extraterrestrial breakthroughs. This interplay highlights a methodological clash. Science demands robust evidence, rigorous peer review, and replicable results, while conspiracy culture thrives on leaps of inference, hush-hush testimony, and an assumption that official proofs are suppressed. NASA's evidence-based approach thus becomes suspect in the conspiracy mindset. Of course, NASA finds no alien spacecraft, they say, because NASA is not allowed to admit it. Meanwhile, NASA's announcements of potential exoplanet habitability or water on Mars become stepping stones. Conspiracists ask, if NASA can confirm so many Earth-like planets, isn't it likely they're aware of advanced civilizations? Even more intriguing is the possibility that NASA as an entity might not know everything. Bureaucracies can be siloed. Perhaps a small fraction of insiders hold cosmic secrets, leaving ordinary NASA workers genuinely clueless. Some conspiracies emphasize that the real knowledge is held by private aerospace companies or intelligence agencies beyond NASA's direct oversight. This would explain NASA's consistent denials. It simply lacks the clearance. Amid this tangle, a growing community calls for total disclosure, a scenario where NASA or some higher authority opens classified vaults revealing UFO files, off-world bases, or deals with alien intelligences. But since that scenario never materializes, hope perpetuates speculation, maybe next year, maybe next presidency. With every withheld document or suspiciously redacted release, conspiracists reaffirm their stance. The cycle self-perpetuates because NASA's official disclaimers and mainstream scientific consensus fail to fully quell the rumors. In essence, the push for UFO transparency underlines how conspiracies feed on NASA's reticence or limited knowledge. The agency's reluctance to champion unverified claims is read as obstruction rather than caution. Stepping back, it's instructive to consider the psychological and cultural drivers behind NASA conspiracies. Space is vast, mysterious, and humbling. We yearn for drama to make it relatable. Tales of secret bases, angelic visitors, or colossal conspiracies give cosmic exploration a sense of immediate relevance. They supply heroes, villains, and story arcs that stark scientific data often lacks. Additionally, the notion of NASA as a gatekeeper of cosmic truth resonates with deeper archetypes in which a guardian like the high priests of old guards esoteric knowledge from the masses. Moreover, NASA conspiracies can function as modern myths, enabling people to reinterpret unexplained phenomena or anomalies through a lens that incorporates advanced science, hidden politics, and the supernatural. Mythology historically offered explanations for the unknown. In our technological age, conspiracies fill that niche, weaving older legends of angels or demons together with rockets and stealth satellites. NASA becomes the revered yet suspect temple where cosmic secrets lie hidden behind a labyrinth of official channels. Yet these conspiracies are not monolithic. They contradict one another. In detail, some say NASA is benevolent, forging alliances to defend Earth. Others label NASA as complicit with malevolent aliens. But they share an undercurrent of distrust in official stories. This has broader implications. People who believe NASA is lying about cosmic matters may also be more prone to reject scientific consensus on climate change or other global issues. The line between skepticism and cynicism can blur with real hazards for public discourse. The challenge for NASA is that public engagement with science thrives on curiosity, while conspiratorial mindsets exploit that same curiosity in more dramatic ways. NASA can't compete with claims of Nazi alien superfleets or cosmic angels in terms of raw sensationalism. Its real achievements, like capturing the first close-up images of Pluto or landing rovers on Mars, are often overshadowed in the conspiracy realm by the question, but what are they not telling us? The agency's best recourse is transparent communication, though even that is often dismissed as disinformation by the most ardent believers. From a philosophical standpoint, these conspiracies force us to reflect on epistemology. How do we decide what's true about the cosmos? Do we trust data from established institutions, or do we rely on alternative testimonies and patterns we believe we see? NASA stands at the center, representing the mainstream approach to cosmic knowledge. Conspiracists propose an alternate domain of hidden knowledge, rewriting space history into narratives brimming with cosmic conflict, moral struggles, and suppressed breakthroughs. This tension shows no sign of abating because it touches our oldest fears and hopes that we might not be alone, and that powerful forces might shape our destiny without our consent. As we near the end of this exploration, it's worth noting that NASA conspiracies often function like living organisms. They evolve with each new mission or scientific discovery. When NASA announces a new exoplanet that could harbor life, conspiracists promptly integrate that data into their frameworks, suggesting the exoplanet is already known to secret alliances or has hidden significance. If a rover finds intriguing rock formations on Mars, some interpret them as building remnants. Every genuine advancement in space science becomes grist for conspiratorial mills. In a way, NASA's progress ironically feeds the conspiracies, ensuring they adapt rather than dissipate. Looking ahead, more missions loom on the horizon. NASA aims to return humans to the Moon under the Artemis program, eventually setting the stage for Mars. We can predict that conspiratorial narratives will swirl around these missions. If NASA establishes a lunar station, rumors of underground alien bases or combined Earth-lunar outposts are almost guaranteed. Any slight glitch in communications or alleged lost footage may be interpreted as evidence of concealment. So long as NASA remains reticent about the wildest claims, the conspiracy culture thrives. Simultaneously, private space ventures like SpaceX Blue Origin or Virgin Galactic challenge NASA's monopoly on cosmic travel. Could these commercial entities uncover anomalies or publicly reveal secrets NASA suppressed? Conspiracists are divided. Some believe private companies are freer to speak, while others assert they too are complicit or have been swiftly brought under the fold. Meanwhile, new telescopes like the James Webb Space Telescope push the limits of cosmic observation. Each startling image, especially if it shows potential biosignatures in a distant atmosphere, could stoke claims that NASA has known about life for ages. In essence, the future synergy between cutting-edge astronomy and conspiracy theories seems guaranteed. People's thirst for cosmic drama endures, and NASA, by virtue of its front and center role in space exploration, will remain a focal point. As our technology improves, the boundary between what is knowable and what remains conjecture will shift. Yet conspiracies flourish best in gray areas where official statements leave ambiguity. The more NASA can do to share data openly and explain complex phenomena, the narrower those gray areas become, though realistically, they'll never vanish entirely. Ultimately, NASA conspiracies are as much about human imagination as they are about NASA itself. The cosmos invites wonder, fear, and the sense of infinite possibility. Institutions like NASA attempt to channel that wonder into structured inquiry, but not everyone is satisfied with official accounts. Tales of secret fleets, hidden Martian civilizations, or cosmic angels speak to an innate yearning for stories that transcend mundane reality. Whether these conspiracies reveal suppressed truths or reflect our collective psyches, they underscore one fact as we gaze into the cosmic void. The unknown stares back, and we fill it with narratives shaped by our hopes, fears, and suspicions. In closing, these intertwined conspiracies, from Solar Warden to astronaut madness procedures, faked moon footage, Lucifer projects, Nazi Draco alliances, clandestine Mars colonies, and beyond, comprise a sprawling tapestry that repeatedly places NASA at its center. Some theories paint NASA as a heroic sentinel warding off alien invasions. Others accuse it of unimaginable deceit, hoarding technologies, forging cosmic bargains, or controlling Earth's weather for hidden agendas. Yet, through it all, NASA itself rarely strays from its public identity, a scientific agency bound by budgetary realities aiming to expand human knowledge of the cosmos. For conspiracy theorists, the official NASA narrative is insufficient. They see too many loose ends, too many unacknowledged anomalies, and too many instances where the official story changed over time. Is NASA's disclaiming stance a sign of innocence or an elaborate ruse? That question lingers at the heart of every rumor. Meanwhile, each new generation finds these stories freshly minted, passed around forums, gaining traction on social media, occasionally igniting mainstream interest if a leak or peculiar event emerges. The conspiracies thus remain self-renewing, always ready to incorporate the latest discovery or public figure's remarks. Yet perhaps there's value in these conspiracies beyond mere entertainment. They remind us that space exploration is an inherently existential venture, one that forces humanity to confront its smallness in a vast universe. Where official science sees methodical progress, conspiracies add drama and moral stakes. Could we be ignoring cosmic revelations that redefine everything? This tension propels curiosity. Even if many claims seem fantastical, they spur public debate about NASA's transparency and the ethical dimensions of space policy. In an age of heightened misinformation, some worry NASA conspiracies undermine trust in legitimate science. Others argue that a questioning attitude is healthy, ensuring institutions remain accountable. The line between critical thinking and unfounded suspicion can be fine, but it testifies to the potency of space's allure. We want to know what's out there so fervently that if official channels don't provide the answers we crave, we spin our own. NASA, for its part, navigates a balancing act, celebrating achievements without overhyping them, acknowledging unknowns without allowing the vacuum to be filled by outlandish claims. As humanity stands on the cusp of new explorations, returning to the moon, eyeing Mars, and peering at exoplanets across the galaxy, these conspiracies are unlikely to diminish. The more we venture, the more mysteries we might encounter. Will NASA one day reveal conclusive evidence of alien life or hidden energies? Or is it possible we exist in a universe devoid of the conspiracists' cosmic epics until definitive evidence emerges? These stories will swirl, reflecting the public's boundless imagination. So we conclude with a paradox. NASA, the bastion of rational, empirical science, has also become the muse for some of the wildest speculations of our time, a testament to just how deeply the cosmos captivates the human mind.